This is the Buwwy Breakdown, recorded June 9th, 2022, and we're fresh off of Summer Games Fest, and why I miss E3. Okay, so today was a big day. I don't really know. It wasn't that big a day at all. It was just a day for video games. It was basically Summer Games Fest. So for those of you who don't know, it's created by Jeff Keighley, probably the biggest name in video game journalism. He created the Game Awards. He hosted the Spike Game Awards before that. He's been involved for decades in gaming journalism and stuff. He did a E3 for YouTube when they were doing that. Did a lot of stuff, and he started the Summer Games Fest. And for the past 2 years it's been going on. It started in 2020, I believe, and then has kept going. And for the entire run of this, for the last 2 years, now 3, including this, this thing has sucked. I don't think it's produced barely any giant game announcements. Usually the Game Awards produces a lot more big announcements, probably because it's not, most publishers now are doing their own thing. PlayStation didn't really have anything, but they did their own little third-party thing just a few days ago. Xbox is doing their own thing, which will be bigger than the Summer Games Fest because it's it's one of the big three. And I'm sure Nintendo they usually have a June Direct. It's kind of weird they don't have one yet, but if they don't have a June Direct, I guess, well, fuck me, but they need one because they have no games coming up. But I digress. You're here to talk about Summer Games Fest, so let's talk about that. And then I'll talk about the Xbox, what I think is going to happen there, and why I miss E3 and all this. So, I'm going to be honest, I forgot this thing even happened the day it happened. So, I tuned in like an hour after it started, and I skipped through a lot of the game, of the show, but I wrote everything down. I wrote release dates for things that I did either care about or just saw the release dates. I don't have release dates for everything. I've released years for some. I don't know. Whatever I wrote down. But this show really did suck. But I'm going to skip around to the things I did like, which was not like, but the things I was most interested in. And it was right at the end. So I'm just skipping to the end, and then we'll go right back to the beginning. So, because I want to talk about it. Last of Us. After the last game they had shown, they had Neil and Jeff, with their microphones talking on stage. And Neil was obviously there to talk about Last of Us stuff because there's been a lot of Last of Us rumors, Last of Us remake, for PS5, Last of Us 2 multiplayer, Last of Us show. There's a lot of stuff going on that's confirmed or rumored. And the Last of Us remake actually leaked before this presentation, which was hilarious. But okay, Last of Us 2. Let's talk about what he said. So he said Last of Us 2 multiplayer. That is going to be standalone now. I guess it got big enough to where they said, okay, we have this whole new thing. Let's just make this a standalone game. It's going to feature a new cast, new story. It's going to take place in San Francisco, and they showed some concept art of it. Looked pretty good. Looked very good, actually. I like the concept art. The concept of this, though, I don't know how I feel because, first of all, if it's going to be a $60 game, I don't think it's going to be a $60 game. I don't think they would do that. I feel like it's going to be like a $30, $40 game. That's why I think it should be. Maybe, I don't know, but if it's going to be 60, I have to have a ton of extra content there. But for a Last of Us multiplayer game, I don't know. They didn't share much. I guess they'll probably share some stuff after, but I didn't play any of the Last of Us multiplayer for the original Last of Us because I didn't care for it. I don't care for multiplayer experiences. That was in the age where every game had to have a multiplayer thing. Like every Assassin's Creed had this tacked on multiplayer mode. All these games always tacked on these extra multiplayer modes that no one, that didn't really last. Because if you're making a single player game and then you have to tack on a multiplayer mode, it just doesn't work as well as just a dedicated making a multiplayer game, which is a positive of this being released standalone. So we'll see. Last of Us TV show, they brought out Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, obviously the voices of Joel and Ellie, respectively, from the original games. They're going to have roles in this show. I don't, okay. And then they showed a picture of Pedro Pascal and Bella, whatever her last name is, she's playing Ellie. Obviously, Pedro's playing Joel. Showed a picture of them in a scene. Okay, cool, sure, yeah. But here's what everyone wanted to talk about: The Last of Us remake. Okay, so before I get into what I think about it, let's just talk about it. Neil said it was a definitive version of The Last of Us with a ground-up remake. It's going to come out for PS5 on September 2nd, 2022, and I believe he said it's going to come out for PC later. I don't know how much later or when, but it's coming out for PC as well. And then the combat and AI is redone, and it's dubbed The Last of Us Part 1. Obviously because Part 2 came out. But the combat and AI is redone in line with, he said, the lessons they learned from Uncharted 4, as well as The Last of Us Part 2. So Naughty Dog is starting to kind of bring that back into The Last of Us 1. Okay, and then they showed a trailer, and the trailer was a fine trailer. It wasn't necessarily great. They did show a piece of concept art with Ellie looking to the side and Joel kind of with a gun, kind of like in every, kind of just like a looking down, kind of looking badass. It was and cars, and it was like sunset. It was a really good photo. It was a beautiful picture, and I enjoyed the concept art. However, I'm probably not going to buy this game. Even though The Last of Us is I'd think it would be my third or second favorite game. Number one's Mario Odyssey, or not Mario Odyssey, Mario Galaxy. Number two is probably something else that I'm forgetting. I don't know. I don't know what my favorite games are. But Last of Us is up there in my pantheon of, yeah, it's number three. It's number three. Number two is probably Breath of the Wild, and then number three is Last of Us. But some of those aren't. Anyways, Last of Us, I love this game. I played it 3 times. And Last of Us Part 1 Part 2 I played once, whatever. Won't talk about it. But I am so against this in so many ways. First of all, I don't like the precedent that we're setting, that we are willing to remake games that are only 10 years old. And I think The Last of Us Remastered came out in 2013? Sorry, I'm going to look it up. I think 2013 or 14. 14. July 29, 2014. So The Last of Us Remastered is 8 years old, and we're getting a remake. A remake, not a remaster, a remake. Final Fantasy VII got a remake in 2020. That game came out 23 years before that. You don't need, and for good reason, because Final Fantasy VII, if you go back and play that game, the original, as a modern gamer, not understanding the nostalgia or context or caring to see the story through, that game sucks really bad. It's boring, it's tedious, it's outdated. Final Fantasy VII Remake fixes a lot of that and brings it to a modern audience. The same story, different to a modern audience. That's great. That is a thumbs up. That's great for a remake. Resident Evil 2, another prime example of a remake, came out 20-something odd years after that original game. Resident Evil 4 is getting that treatment. See, games that are more than 20 years old, or just about 20 years old, that's when you can start thinking about a remake. Games that are 8, I just don't. It's like them remaking Assassin's Creed Black Flag or something. Why would you do that? The game stands up on its own. The original stands up on its own. And they showed pictures, and I saw it on Twitter before I saw it because it leaked. They showed, I saw a tweet that showed different screenshots from the remake and then the original. And the original looked better for a few reasons. Number one, I'm trying to find this photo for myself for reference. I found it. I wish you could see the tweet, but it looks, the coloring on the original looks way better. Ellie looks also younger in the original. They changed her mold to look a lot more like the facial to look a lot more like Last of Us 2. Her animations as well as her face features. I hate that. I hate how Ellie looked in Last of Us 2. and I hate that they're even though she's older in The Last of Us 2, which would make sense for the change, she's not. She should be looking like she looked in the original game, because I just don't. I feel like she looks more like a child, right, in the original, which makes you care more about her, which makes you believe the father-daughter dynamic. I don't want Last of Us 2 Ellie to interfere with this Ellie, because for me, Last of Us 2 Ellie and this Ellie are two different characters, because I think they're written completely differently, and or at least they're just, she's wiser, she's older, she's got more experience, right? She's a different person. Anyone would be a different person after that long in that environment. But I don't know. The Last of Us original, it's really the color. I don't know what it is. They just like, they kind of, it's more atmospheric. The lighting is a little more, everything's a little more, I don't want to say gray, but a lot more tint. There's a lot more tint to what's going on, whereas this is everything's just kind of got this glossy look in the remake, and I don't care for that too much. Like Joel, like this I'm looking at a picture where Joel looks like his beard doesn't look as grizzled as it looks in the original. You can see the whites peeking out in his beard really well, and each hair strand looked like, it just doesn't look like that in the remake. Same with Ellie's hair. The hair just doesn't, like, everything about this, I'm sorry I'm going on a big tangent, but everything about this damn remake makes me upset. I think the original is perfectly fine. Is absolutely perfectly fine. An arbitrary, okay, I just saw a tweet, I'm sorry. But Andre Seegers from Gaming Explained, is it too soon for Last of Us to make an arbitrary Nintendo comparison? He compares Mario 64 to Mario DS. That was 8.4 years. However, let's realize that there was a purpose for Super Mario 64 DS being made. The reason was they wanted to show that they could get a Mario game like that running on a handheld. That's why that was made. There is a reason that was fucking made. As a tech demo. It's basically a tech demo. This is on more powerful hardware, so that's not comparable. Wind Waker to Wind Waker HD, 10.7 years. That's an HD. That's different. Ocarina of Time, 3D to Ocarina of Time, 12.5 years. That one's more acceptable. Ocarina of Time N64 is older. It's a really old thing, so those games are kind of outdated, but Ocarina of Time still holds up, so didn't need it. And again, 3D. So I think there's a purpose to that being made as well. There's no reason for this to be made. The Last of Us Remastered still looks and plays okay. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just going too nuts. I should probably stop here, but yeah, The Last of Us Remake, I'm against it for several reasons, and I probably won't be wasting my $60 on it. Probably $70. It's actually probably gonna be $70 now that I think about it. But you know, maybe I'll give it a shot. But I love that original and how it looks and feels, and I think the atmosphere and the lighting looks way better in the original. So we'll see. You know, we'll go. Okay, so let's now that that's over, and I went on a 14-minute tangent about Last of Us. Let's talk about this whole thing. So, and then we'll talk about the thoughts about it, and then what I expect from Microsoft, and then what I expect from the industry, because I've been following this industry for, you know, a long time. So, like 15 years probably closely. So I'm very interested in what is done. Anyways, Street Fighter 6. That was the first thing showed off. They showed off Guile or Geel. Sorry, I'm not a Street Fighter player. And they showed a gameplay trailer of him. Okay, cool. Not for me. Then they showed Aliens Dark Descent, which at first you didn't know it was an Aliens game. It looked like a horror game in space, which will be a common theme for the rest of the show, is horror games in space. And it looked like a new Aliens game, because then they showed an alien, and you're like, ooh, okay. And then they showed it was all CG, and then they showed this little gameplay, just a little tiny bit that you could tell was in engine, and it's an XCOM-like strategy game coming out 2023. So, guess not really a new Aliens kind of isolation type game. It's just It's just a strategy game. So, okay. Then they showed the Callisto Protocol, basically. They showed the trailer, that similar trailer from the Sony one. I don't know. Didn't watch it. Skipped through that. However, they did show some gameplay of it. Like a long gameplay demo, which I love to see. That stuff is like E3. Whatever Sony, remember Sony that one year where they did long gameplay demos like Ghost of Tsushima and Spider-Man. You get really intimate with some of these games. Last of Us Part 2 they did. So you got really intimate with these games, and I really like that, and I wish they did more of it. Anyways, it was like probably, I don't know, 8 minutes, probably somewhere around there, 5-8 minutes, I don't know. And the gameplay looked fine. It looked like normal horror kind of zombie kind of games. I don't know. You're gonna know if you like it if you see it, I guess. I mean, it looked like a zombie game in space. I mean, what can I say? It's a little futuristic too. It's looked fine. It looked like really good though, like beautiful, but still. Then they had Modern Warfare 2, showed a very long gameplay trailer as well. Again, kind of skipped through it because it's Call of Duty. I don't really care about it, but I mean, it looked pretty. Obviously, it's Call of Duty. The games look really good. But you know, in terms of gameplay, hey, looked like normal Call of Duty. That sure did. Then they brought out 2 devs, and she said it was like this is a turning point for the series. They're going to do a shared engine for all these games, I think, and then you can have Warzone 2.0. I don't know. A lot of stuff I didn't care about because I don't care. And I guess Infinity Ward's making this one. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not a Call of Duty fan. Then they showed this game called Flashback 2. Didn't know. I guess it's a game that came out 30 years ago, and they're making a sequel, I think. I don't know. Don't care. They did show this cool game called Witchfire, which was like a fantasy shooter. But it was like, it kind of reminded me a lot of Bioshock. If Bioshock had a lot of smooth gunplay, it had a really good smooth gunplay. It was all gameplay, which I absolutely love. When trailers are gameplay, I cannot stand CG trailers unless it's for something that we care about. You know, like I think Resident Evil 4 kind of bothered me, but at least that was kind of in-engine, I feel, and more. They showed a little more stuff that wasn't just pure CG shit. No, but it was kind of Bioshock-esque. They had kind of abilities coming out of the hand, like plasmids and shit. And yeah, well, it looked really smooth, and I enjoyed it. Then they showed a game called Fort Solace with Roger Clark and Troy Baker. Those are the voice actors. Roger Clark voiced Arthur Morgan, Red Dead 2, and Troy Baker, obviously Joel, a lot of other people. Dead Space-like, that's what they said. Which is, again, this is like the 3rd Dead Space-like game so far. Routine, I wrote under it Robot Dead Space because that's what it was. Everything's Dead Space now. That was another game. Then they had The Rock, and they showed the Black Adam trailer. Okay. And The Rock did this hilarious thing where he filmed it in his gym on his iPhone because he doesn't give a shit. And he held a, hey, Jeff, how you doing? Game Awards? I'm in my gym, powered by this energy drink that I don't remember what the name was. And you're like, why was he there? Obviously to give him money. Obviously it was so Jeff could have some money to show that trailer, but okay. Then they showed some Outlanders DLC, I believe. Nintendo bought a commercial which just showed, hey, we have a game called Splatoon. That's coming out. I think Pokemon's also coming out. We got a couple games for you. Then they have Fall Guys at a commercial. I don't care. Stormgate. I don't remember what this was. I guess it was RTS. 2023 beta. Don't care. High Water. Didn't write anything down for that. Don't remember what that was. Replace was a game that was supposed to be talked about, but unfortunately with the Ukraine stuff, it was Ukrainian and Belarus developer. So unfortunately they didn't get to show, but you know, yeah. So, but they still, their concept art looked really good. Then they had probably the thing I was not the most interested in, but the concept was the most interesting thing to me, was this thing called American Arcadia, It was basically the Truman Show, where this one guy is trying to escape this. They build this like very utopian city, and then everything's on film. And I guess Jeff also mentioned something. I didn't see this in the trailer, but he mentioned something that people who are watching the show can like upvote and downvote certain people, and there's kind of like a Black Mirror kind of like social credit system. I don't know if how that works, but all we saw was this guy is trying to escape this kind of hellscape, beautiful utopia. So cool. It looked like one of those games though that didn't have any gameplay. Like it looked like one of those games that I don't know what the genre is, but I think High Water was also this, if I remember. It's one of those games where I forget though. What am I trying to think of? Is it Oxenfree? What? I don't know what the type of game is, but it's the game where you walk around and you talk to people and dialogue bubbles pop up. But this probably wasn't that. I don't know. They showed some actions. It looked indie, but it looked like an indie game that didn't. I don't know. It was a third-person thing too, and it looked small. I don't know. We'll see. Goat Simulator 3 also came out, and they had a great trailer. It was a Dead Island 2 kind of trailer, where it just remade the Dead Island 2 trailer, but instead of zombie shit going around by the runner, it was goat shit. So that was fun. That was fun. And then they showed Marvel Midnight Suns. Okay. October 7th. And they showed the Cuphead DLC, and it's Cuphead. June 16th. Oh no, never mind. That's not June 16th. I don't know when the Cuphead DLC is coming out, but it looked like it was Cuphead DLC. Cool. Thumbs up. You'll know if you like Cuphead. Neon White. This was this like weird shooter card type game where it seemed like I couldn't get the concept. I think it was like these sinners who are doing God's dirty work, I think they said, which was interesting, and it looks like they're in kind of like a heaven area, and it looked great, and it looked really interesting and fun. It's coming out June 16th for Switch and Steam. I'm gonna play this. It looked very bizarre, very weird, and very cool. I enjoyed it. Then we had Warframe, the Durviri Paradox. I don't care. I don't play Warframe. Oh no, I missed one. Midnight Flight Express. This was made by a single father, and it looks like it was. It's not supposed to be taken mean, but comes out August 23rd. It looked like this kind of not beat 'em up, but like a kind of a top-down shooter kind of game. Looked fine. Hanaki Star Rail and Zenless Zone Zero. Now these two games I didn't care about at first because they looked like your normal anime games, but they're made by MiHoYo, the Genshin Impact developers, and part of the Hoyoverse. And the first one interested me more than the second one, because the first one I think was a space kind of JRPG kind of game that looked gorgeous, and I'm very excited. I'm glad this developer is doing things that isn't Genshin Impact, because I want to see more single player kind of content from these guys, and I'm very excited for that. I love Genshin Impact. I love what this is going to happen. Zenless Zone Zero also kind of looked like a kind of punky kind of fighting action. I don't know if it was an action RPG. Again, there's not much gameplay in any of these trailers, so it's kind of hard to tell. I'm just going off of what Jeff said and other things. Then they showed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. They had a cute little thing to show the release day with, I forget who it was, probably Michelangelo, but I don't know which Ninja Turtle. Maybe Donatello, I don't remember. June 16th, it was like playing this little thing, and then says available, and then he like, it's a little 8-bit sprite. It's really cute. Go watch it. Go watch just the end of that, but it looked nice. Super People. This game, I don't remember because I don't care. Humankind. I'm being kind of mean. I'm kind of going through this quickly, but I just didn't. The fact that I'm not remembering any of these. Usually, I remember everything from some of these presentations. Like last E3, I don't have the videos up, but I made videos about them, and I remembered everything about those events because they were so interesting. Because you're watching. Summer Games Fest is too general. You're watching. I'll get into it later. I don't want to. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Humankind's coming to console. One Piece Odyssey, which is a One Piece JRPG, looked really good. It looked like kind of a similar art style to Dragon Quest XI. And despite all all the boys. I don't watch One Piece because it's 1,000 episodes, but I've been thinking about starting it, which I probably will at some point, but never finish. But this game looked really fun, and I'm actually probably thinking about getting it. Soul Hackers 2, another kind of anime, kind of futuristic sci-fi game. Didn't really care for it. Then I saw a Doom clone called Metal Hellslinger. September 15th, cool, whatever. Nightingale, this one looked interesting. It was kind of a Minecraft, kind of like The Forest, one of those games where you interact with the environment around you and build up something. And they showed at the end like this shot of like a house with these guys looking through a telescope, and then like another house faded in, basically like you were building this little city, and that shit is cool, and I want to see more of that. So hopefully we'll get to see more of that sometime. Then they had Saints Row. They talked about this thing called Boss Factory, which is literally just a character creator demo. That I don't care. Warhammer Darkside, Layers of Fears, which is a psychological horror game. Comes out early 2023. Looked really good. It's on Unreal Engine 5. Looked gorgeous. But psychological horror game. I'm not gonna play it. Then they showed a kind of a longer trailer for Gotham Knights, more focusing on the characters. That's coming out October 25th. And then The Last of Us happened. Then we know what happened after that. So sorry, I talked about The Last of Us for like half of this, and then I zoomed through everything else. But that should show you how forgettable this show is. And there's something to say about this kind of thing. I don't expect Summer Games Fest to be E3, because Summer Games Fest is too general, and you don't. Most of the companies that make the games people care about want to have their own events, right? Most of them, Nintendo's not going to show up. They bought like 2 trailers, or not 2 trailers, 2 little commercials that they show on TV anyways. Probably. So I don't care. Nintendo's not there. Xbox is having their own event, and they're big enough to where they have plenty of games in development. Plus, with Game Pass, they want their whole show to be controlled so that they can show, hey, all these games are coming at Game Pass, which is why I'm very excited for the Xbox conference, because I'm sure they'll have some day one releases on Game Pass and good shit there. And then PlayStation, obviously, they did announce The Last of Us remake and show a trailer at this, granted, but, this isn't, I feel like if they had something to show, they'd just announce it themselves. And then it's similar. It's honestly similar with the developers. You don't see, PlayStation kind of took all of what Capcom, and it's hilarious. The publishers like Square Enix and Capcom would rather go on PlayStation's event than they would Summer Games Fest, which kind of shows you that all the power of E3 comes from not the idea of E3, not the general thing of E3, but the 3 main publishers beat 3 main console manufacturers being at one place at one time, trying to market their console to the press and to retailers and to all the individuals. That's why E3 works. Summer Games Fest is not for that. Summer Games Fest is something completely different. The people think E3 is all about the announcements, which it's not. It is, but it's not. E3 is a show that first of all, it's a press event. That's what it's been since the conception of it. And it's the only industry. This is the only industry where people watch press conferences, or people did, to really get themselves pumped up. Because press conferences in any other industry is absolutely asinine and boring. And they make these theatrical because we watch them. But E3 is for the actual event. E3 is a place where these smaller developers can go and get a lot of recognition, and these bigger developers can let the press spend more time with their game. That's why they announce them, and they have demos, and then they have all these things to show people, hey, you saw our game at this big event that everybody watched. Hey, you want to play this game? Here is a controller, play the game. Summer Games Fest is not that. and publishers and developers, that are bigger than indie developers, than individual developers, don't really care. They'd just rather have their own event. They have enough name recognition. I mean, maybe Capcom and Square Enix don't, but PlayStation does, so they'll go there. And they're kind of tied to the PlayStation brand. Xbox does, Nintendo obviously does as well. So that's what I miss about E3. Summer Games Fest is trying to do that, but it's not. It will never do that. E3 is a trade show. Again, Summer Games Fest is not. So, you know, I don't know what else to say about that, but it's infuriating. I really miss E3 time. I'm very nostalgic for like late 2010s E3, even mid 2010s when they were announcing the new consoles. I mean, go back and watch some of those old press coverage of that shit. You know, back in the day, Jeff used to host the YouTube at E3. And he had all these developers come in and talk about their games, and we'd all be waiting for the PlayStation event. He'd bring in some YouTube people to talk about it, and beforehand and then after, and you know, it felt like an event, and it was exciting. And I, you know, you'd see the Fallout 76 trailer, and everyone would talk about that, and you know, you'd see it numerous times over the course of the event, and you'd kind of get excited for it, and then you'd see people talking about it, even though there were like no demos, but maybe there would be a demo for some other game, and I don't know, it was very fun, and I really miss E3. But anyways, let's talk about Xbox quickly, because Xbox has a lot of weird stuff coming around. I don't know how long this presentation is supposed to be, on the 12th, which is a Sunday, on this Sunday. I don't know how long this damn thing is going to be. Maybe I don't want to know. But if you don't know, they announced that they're delaying Redfall into 2023 as well as Starfield. So both of the big Bethesda games that were supposed to come out this year aren't coming out this year. So is Xbox gonna show them at this conference? I'd assume they'd show that. I'd assume they'd show a gameplay demo for Starfield. At least. I feel like that's something they have to do. And then say, hey, summer 2023 or spring 2020. I don't know. Whenever if they want to wait till November. That's usually when Bethesda games come out anyways, but who knows? And then in terms of new games, I'm not expecting too much. I mean, again, their studios are all working on different games, and most of the games that we saw last year, from their first-party studios at least, haven't been released. Other than, I'm trying to think here, other than Halo Infinite and Forza. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the different. Okay, there we go. So let's just go through these, what they're doing, because usually I do this every time there's an event. I just go through the thing. So 343 Industries, that's Halo. They already released Infinite. Coalition, Gears of War. I don't believe there's a Gears of War like 6 slated. But I'm sure there will be Gears of War 6. Gears of War 5 was giant. So hey, maybe something from Compulsion Gears of War related, or Coalition Gears of War related. Compulsion Games, they made We Happy Few. I don't think they're working on anything right now. It came out in 2018. Nah, it doesn't look like they've announced anything. So maybe something new from Compulsions. Maybe a sequel to We Happy Few. 4 years after that came out. Double Fine, Psychonauts, they already came out. Maybe they'll have something. Who knows? Are they working on anything? No. Psychonauts 2. We'll see. The Initiative. This is that new studio that's making the Perfect Dark reboot. That was announced at the Game Awards 2020. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see something. Yeah, it was announced almost a year and a half ago. Maybe we'll see a new trailer, maybe some environments from the original Perfect Dark remade. We'll see. Then we have In Exile. They make Wasteland, as well as the Bard's Tale. I don't know if we'll see anything from them. Mojang Minecraft, maybe we'll see some Minecraft stuff. Ninja Theory, Hellblade 2, we'll definitely see something from Hellblade 2. They're making that game. Probably a release window at least, I'd imagine. Obsidian, I wouldn't count on them talking about Outer Worlds 2. I would... When was that announced? I think that was announced 2021. No, that was announced 2020. Maybe. So that was announced about 2 years ago. No, never mind. No. It was announced 1 year ago. Never mind. It was 2021. They announced Avowed on 2020. So one of those two games has to be coming out. Avowed or Outer Worlds 2. Probably Avowed, because that was 2 years ago. So I'm sure we'll see something about Avowed. Then we got Playground, who makes Forza. Rare. Rare is working on Everwild right now. I know damn well you damn well know at any time I can tell you what Rare is working on because I want them to be working on Banjo. So I'm sure that's been announced. That was announced a long time ago at this point. That was probably announced 2020, maybe even 2019 in November. So I'm sure we'll see definitely something from them. Almost 3 years since they worked on something. So I'm sure we'll see something from Everwild. Hopefully, God, please announce a If they announce a Banjo-Kazooie fucking game, I'd... Ooh. Turn 10 makes Forza Motorsport. Sorry. Playground makes Forza Horizon. Okay. Sorry. Undead Labs makes State of Decay. I think State of Decay 3 hasn't released, so that'll be another game to look out for. So, a lot of games actually that I didn't... So, like, Avowed... What did I say? Avowed, probably games. These are games that are announced. So Avowed, Hellblade 2, Outer Worlds 2, Everwild, State of Decay 3. So a lot of games coming from. These are Xbox Game Studios. Age of Empires, World's Edge, or that came out. Maybe DLC for Age of Empires 4, but I don't know. Then we have Bethesda and ZeniMax. Alpha Dog Games. What are these guys? I've never heard of these guys. Okay. Arcane. Obviously, they came out with just recently. What was it called? Deathloop. Bad game. Didn't like it. And they're the ones making Redfall as well, I believe. So we'll be seeing whatever they're working on with Redfall if they show Redfall. I feel like they will. Then we got Bethesda Game Studios. They're working on Starfield, as I said before. Elder Scrolls 6. Who knows? Who knows when that's coming out? God knows. We'll definitely probably not see anything of that. This is what I'm interested in. So, id. Obviously, the makers of Doom, Quake, Rage, Wolfenstein, big studio, top class games. I love all those games. They're making the Indiana Jones game. Right? It's not showing up on their Wikipedia. I'm going down to the Wikipedia. Who's making the Indiana... Hold on. Did that get canceled? Indiana Jones game. A new game. Indiana Jones game is coming from Bethesda. Yeah, Machine Games. Oh, shit. Sorry. id... Okay, sorry. I got it confused. Id makes Doom, but Wolfenstein uses the id engine. Sorry. Oops. Messed up there. Machine Games is working on the Indiana Jones games, as well as it says here Wolfenstein 3, which I didn't know was announced, but I'm sure we'll see something from... I hope we see something from the Indiana Jones games. I'm very excited for that. God, please. I really want that. I really want that fucking game. Tango Gameworks, they're the ones that just released Ghostwire Tokyo, so don't expect anything from them. Fucking Shinji. Didn't play that game. Want to play it, though. And then ZeniMax Online. I think there's an Elder Scrolls fucking online thing coming out, so I'm sure there'll be something there. But those are all the current big Xbox studios that has things in there. So, sorry, I kind of didn't do any pre-work. I was looking on Wikipedia for most of this. As well as my general knowledge of this stuff, which is admittedly gotten more limited as the years of and the acquisitions. These acquisitions are too much to keep track of. I don't care much at all for it. Now we also have to talk about, when we're talking about Xbox, we're gonna have to start talking about Blizzard as well and Activision. So that's gonna, oh my god, they're too big. So games to expect. Here's my definitive games to expect from Microsoft during this event that have already been announced. Hellblade 2. Definitely expect that. They showed some at the Game Awards last year. That game looked very close to completion, so expect something from that. What is Obsidian? They have Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed. I'd expect something from Avowed. Outer Worlds 2, I feel, is too far away. I feel like they really want to get that down. Avowed, though, is definitely going to be shown sometime. It has to be. It's been a while. Probably expect a Forza. I don't know. I don't know when Forzas come out all the time, so who knows. Rare, expect Everwild for sure. I feel like they gotta show They're definitely showing Everwild. And then also expect a Banjo-Kazooie remake. Just not a remake, but a new game. Just expect that always. Expect State of Decay for sure. And then expect Starfield. And maybe Redfall. Maybe. Certainly something from Starfield. Certainly some gameplay from Starfield. It's gotta be. Anyways, and then Nintendo will, I don't know if they're doing anything. God only knows. Ooh. Interesting. I'm this is weird. I'm looking at this tweet. What was your favorite game from Summer Games Fest? What'd you hope to see that you didn't? That's 17 minutes ago, and there's already 1,000 replies, 978 likes, and 179 quote tweets. So, there is a lot of kind of and I'm looking at the replies here, and it looks like there's not enough. Everyone's saying Sonic. I guess Sonic was supposed to show. No one wants to see Sonic though, because Sonic is disgusting, because Frontiers looked terrible. But I love Sonic. I didn't mean to say it was disgusting. That was a little mean. Okay. Anyways. E3. Where to go in the future. E3 said they're coming back in 2023. That's another announcement I didn't get to cover on this show here. And I don't think it's going to happen. I know that it hasn't happened for the past 2 years. Well, 2020 and 2020 this year. Happened in 2021. But it got a lot of shit in 2021. The only company that really brought their A game was Nintendo. As per usual, Nintendo's actually really good at E3. They've kind of mastered the art of E3, I feel, in terms of digital form. Something PlayStation could never do, and Xbox kind of is starting to get the hang of E3. I think that it's not going to happen because I don't think, first of all, PlayStation, I don't think is still going to show up. PlayStation seems to be very content with how they're doing things. Ever since they didn't go in 2019, they've been doing perfectly fine without E3. People know PlayStation is the dominant brand in gaming right now. So they have that brand loyalty. And they don't have that many games to announce for themselves. That's the thing that I think PlayStation lacks, is they don't... I mean, their games take a long time, and their games are very... I think they'd rather give each game its focus than give like the thing where they had Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man. I feel like they felt that diluted each game, the impact of each game. So I think they want each game to breathe and have its own time. So I think they're not going to show up. And losing PlayStation was a giant hit to E3. It was a massive. I remember that was big because that was one of the big three. That was at that time they were the biggest console out on the market. PS4 still is. Switch is kind of coming up on that though, but it was they're still a giant. So that's a big hit. I think we'll get something with Xbox. I think Xbox is going to kind of take an approach of just lessening their involvement each year. Because again, similar to Sony, they've bought so many, similar to Sony in that they're going to drop out for their own reasons, because Xbox has a similar kind of thing. Although I think they'll hold their own events. So I don't know, but I feel like they don't want to be, they have enough big giant press games that I think they'd rather just do their own thing, and announce all these games at once and control the narrative, because all of these games that are announced at one time, oh look, they're all on Game Pass. I don't think they want the confusion of all these E3 games of, oh, is this on Game Pass? Oh no, is it this event? So it's not. I don't think they want all that confusion. Nintendo will probably also drop out around a similar time. I think they might be the most loyal, because E3 has always been, not always been, but the last few years have been very good for Nintendo, and I think they always go last, so they always get the last big shit, and usually they bring their guns. I mean, they 2019 was a big year. I think that was the one where they announced Breath of the Wild 2. Maybe that was I think that was 2018. Or no, 2018 was Smash. 2019 was Breath of the Wild 2, I think. Yes, that is correct. And remember that 2018, they just came in with Smash, and they still did really well. It was literally all the conference was just basically just Smash for the last 40 minutes of it. So, who knows? And then all the smaller publishers will just, team up with, I think this last State of Play was successful enough to convince those bigger third-party developers that aren't indie developers. The thing I hate about the modern gaming industry is you have the three-man console manufacturers, and then you have big publishers. You have your Square Enix, you have your Capcom, you have Konami, but there are so few like that. There are so few publishers that are just making, Sega is one of them, that are just making games, that anything below something like Konami feels like the gap is there's nothing in between. What it feels like, there's nothing in between a big AAA publisher and a what they frame as a small indie developer, or just one guy making a game. Like, I feel like we need, and I saw this on some podcast, but I think it was the Nintendo podcast with Wood Hawker and Beat 'em Ups and I forget the other guy, Jeff Grubb, I think his name is. They talked about that they need this classification of AAA, which is like indies like Hollow Knight, like with games like Silk Song and Shovel Knight, and these games that are kind of bigger than something, because they got pissed about an indie showcase. And anyway, all of this is to say, this game felt like all of that. This game felt like there are all these games I haven't heard of, because they're made by publishers or developers that I don't know, and they're not being published by these giant companies. So it's sad. I just don't know. I just don't get it. It just feels like this was just all indie games. It was like this is a Nintendo indie showcase, except for Last of Us. I mean, it really did. It was shocking. So I think what E3 will become, obviously we still need those same announcements. Eventually we're just gonna get to a place where PlayStation holds their event, and they're close partners, Capcom and Square, and all of them will kind of be in that event, and then Xbox will hold an event, and any bigger publishers that aren't friendly with Sony will probably go to them, like Ubisoft or shit like that, and then Nintendo will do their own thing. So all these companies will just end up doing their own thing. Nintendo showed that, hey, you can do that with the Direct. Once Nintendo started doing Directs, that was kind of the death of E3, because then Sony's like, hey, we can do that too. We can do that too. Or we can just put it on Twitter and it'll get the same amount of buzz. No one really cares. So, yeah. I think the time of E3 is dead, and we're just stuck in limbo here. But yeah, anything else that happened that I can talk about? I know we're already 50 minutes, which is long, long episode. Yeah, I think that might be it. I do want to talk quickly. Now, if nobody cares about this, it's fine. I was going to record an episode about this yesterday, but it ended up not being that big a topic for me to talk about, I feel. Resident Evil trailer. Netflix. Interesting. I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I know many people aren't, so that's fine. Came out a couple days ago, June 6th. And it has a 11,000 views. Sorry, 811,000 views, 21,000 likes, 48,000 dislikes. Now let me refresh your memory. There was a teaser trailer about a month ago. That was 2 million views, with 50,000 likes, 260,000 dislikes, which is crazy. So why do people hate this? I don't know. The thing. So this trailer takes place in 2038, I think, or 2036. So far beyond where we are in the games. But they are using the games as canon. Games probably won't use this as canon, which is understandable. But the games are canon to this. And for some reason, there's this new place literally called New Raccoon City, and they show it's like this kind of like suburban utopia, this gated community with a lot of white houses. Everything looks the same. Umbrella, they have a big topiary for Umbrella. Umbrella runs this place still. I don't know why, after what happened in 1998 or 9 or whatever, whenever the originals took place, why people would move into a place called New Raccoon City with the same people. And in fact, Wesker, remember in Resident Evil 5 when Wesker got literally blown up in a volcano when he was a mutant monster with a rocket launcher? Well, he's back and he's black now, so who knows how that happened. But this is clearly like a clone or something, or like a different version of Wesker. There's no way it's the same character. If it is, I'm gonna discount this. But I guess he has kids now too that are two like petri dish kids who he's experimenting on, and I don't know. I was initially had this whole thing about how I liked this trailer because at least it's trying to do something. I don't mind when game franchises that go into a different medium like TV or film change a lot up, which I am fine with that, as if it services the plot and the narrative and the characters and everything. I am totally fine with that if they want to divulge. I actually really liked, for example, the Uncharted movie. Only because it was exactly what I expected from the Uncharted movie, in the sense that it was mainstream. That's the thing I like about the Uncharted movie, is it was mainstream. I think having having Sully be younger and no mustache, and having Nathan Drake be Tom Holland, which I get a lot of people didn't like. I didn't care. I just kind of had fun with a different adaptation, a different way to tell this story, to tell the Uncharted story. or an Uncharted story, and it still felt like Uncharted. I mean, it's kind of a generic action movie, but Uncharted is kind of a generic action game. I mean, it didn't. So but this looks like they're kind of trying to go a little too. I don't want to say artsy because it's not, but just too. It's just stupid. It really. Like the concept. I mean, who would move into a new Raccoon City? They probably were, and I guess there's this new thing too where Umbrella manufactured a drug called Joy, which is just an antidepressant, which, speaking of We Happy Few, is just the same thing as We Happy Few. Excuse me. I don't know. It doesn't show enough. Obviously, I don't like trailers, especially for movies and TV, because you're never really going to know unless you watch it, so. Wow. Okay, I just looked. Last of Us Part 1 is $69.99. And there is a Firefly edition for $100. That is nuts. That is crazy. That is insane. That is so stupid. That makes me mad. That makes me pretty pissed. I get $70 is the new thing, and Sony's trying to do that. And I'll pay $70 for like a Ratchet and Clank, like a new game, but really a remake? And it's not that much of a remake. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't like it. I don't like this. I'm not paying $70 for this. $99, what the hell do you get in the Firefly edition? You better get something crazy in the Firefly edition, or else I'm done. Oh my god. Ugh. Well, we'll see. I guess we'll see how all this turns out. Anyways, I should stop. I kind of am on this giant tangent about Resident Evil and the last. Anyways, that's all I have to say. If I don't, again, I don't know. I don't think I'm making these things every day. Clearly, I'm not. But if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. I'm definitely doing more. I'll definitely do one for after the Xbox presentation, which I will live stream on my Twitch whenever that is, if you want to check that out. But that'll be Sunday the 12th. But if I don't see you before then, that'll be the next episode for sure. I'll get right on recording something to talk about that. But if anything happens in between then, I'll see you then. But yeah, Godspeed. Do not be a stranger.